Surprise!
Hi there, welcome to another episode of the Check It Out show. 48,000 plus views, that's amazing, Al.
I know I've done nothing but watch episodes constantly for the last 2 years.
Back to back. Welcome to the show, and as you've seen in the intro there, we've got a jam-packed show lined up for you this evening, and what better way to round off the day around Safer Internet Day 2022 with a fantastic lineup that you've seen there. Some highlights for the show this evening. As you've seen, we've got Southwest Group for Learning joining us, represented by Ken Corish. We've got some teachers joining us. We've got Michelle Grant, Year 4 teacher and co-club facilitator in her school. We've also got Al talking about our online safety guide. We've got Sam from CPOMS, Nata Hubbard joining us. The Avengers are here. We've got Joe Hodge, who's a phase leader and Year 6 teacher, and Nick Dempster as well, Apple Distinguished Educator and Year 6 teaching and computing lead. Jam-packed.
And not to forget the Internet Watch Foundation.
And the Internet Watch Foundation as well, absolutely.
Really important stakeholders. So we've got a really good mixture. And as an extra treat, we're in the same room, Mr. Anderson.
I know. Well, it was so good the last time we did it. I had to try and do it again.
We've even made the effort and put a tie on just to improve standards a little bit whilst we're broadcasting together. But yeah, a really nice to get together. And today's show is going to be a really good way, as you say, of rounding off activities that have been happening across the country. So
and around the world, in fact. And speaking about around the world, what have you up to lately? It's actually a nice surprise to see you actually in the UK.
I know, it's nice to be free to go out and travel again. My arms are quite achy from flapping all the way over the Atlantic. So a week ago, I was across in Orlando at the FETC conference, the Future of Educational Technology conference. Really good one that kicks off the kind of season of events and activities that happen across the US. Lovely to go over there. Opportunity to see some of the new technology that's being launched. Very pleased that I was asked to present about a topic that's close to both our hearts, about moving that digital discussion forward, digital strategy, and also looking for that evidence base to select the right solutions. Also had a chance to talk about my book, which was very nice to the American audience, and no one was too critical of my spelling, so another tick in the box. But I think it's more about this joined up conversation. We've all recognized that the level of interest and adoption of different solutions, and it is now about moving forward to recognize what worked well and why it worked well, and evidencing it worked well and moving it forward, and at the same time recognizing what didn't work well, and just accepting that not everything is going to be perfect and we don't need to take every solution forward. In the context of tonight's show, what I think was really prevalent was the level of dialogue and conversation around digital citizenship. And I think for all the considerations we put in place and the fantastic solutions and services we're going to talk about tonight to try and keep our learners safe, both in school and out of school, we also are very mindful of that balance where we want to educate our children to make the right choices and be aware of their digital footprint and how they conduct themselves and how they share. So yes, all really exciting, and certainly gets the juices flowing for another year of EdTech delights. But I'm not going to hog all the activities that I've been up to, because I know you have been a rather busy chap too, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, I've wrapped up a few miles in the last sort of week as well, working in Peterborough today and yesterday. I was over in Exeter working at the school there on Friday as well. And again, really important conversations around how we can use technology to support our learners with safeguarding aspects, digital citizenship as well, digital literacy, and the digital strategy that sort of supports that in an overarching way, thinking strategically about that. So it's been a real pleasure working with the Thomas Deacon Education Trust here in Peterborough the last 2 days, for example, as part of an ongoing piece, working with them, and a really great opportunity in a really broad provision. From a 2,500 student super school to alternative provision units as well. They've got a really broad remit within their trust. So again, fantastic opportunity to do the best by the children that we serve. So yeah, fantastic work and fantastic opportunities. But enough about me and what I've been up to, and for yourself as well, Al. It's probably about time we brought on our first guest, really, isn't it? Someone I've known for many years, someone I massively respect as well. Worked in schools that I've worked in, inspired me and inspired my colleagues and the students that I was working with in those schools when I was teaching there as well. So great pleasure to welcome on to the Check It Out show, the one only Mr. Ken Corish.
Hello, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Just at the tail end of Safer Internet Day, so it's been quite hectic. It's been an amazing day today. We've got over 3,000 separate supporters and partners for Safer Internet Day. I've just come off a live stream we did with Liverpool Football Club earlier on today, which had 6,000 people following it, which is just incredible. I mean, I don't think they turned up to see me. I think they were more interested in the Liverpool players who turned up with Safer Internet Day messages. But yeah, it's been really good.
That's fantastic, Ken. Fantastic. For those that don't know you, if they've been hiding under a rock for the last goodness knows how long you've been sort of supporting these sorts of activities, yeah, can you share a little bit about the work that you do? And I mean, obviously you've got the Southwest Grid for Learning sort of thing there next to your name, but obviously your remit's far broader than that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's interesting with this little tiny place down in the back end of Exeter. Really, you know, Southwest Grid for Learning came into being, gosh, over 20 years ago to bring broadband to schools. But since then, it's diversified in what it does. It's become one of the 3 partners in the UK Safer Internet Centre. So it's been running that for the last 10 years. We produce a whole range of different, as part of our charitable objectives. We're a not-for-profit charity. We produce a whole range of different resources, services, tools to support not only education but across all of the agencies of children's professionals who you know very often find that technology impacts not only on their broader safeguarding but also how we prepare and empower children and young people for their online lives. So I'm online safety director there, part of the senior management team. But as an organization, we also work with government, you know, particularly close work with DCMS Home Office, DFE. We train Ofsted, and we've been what we'd like to think was a seminal influence on some of the changes that we've seen emerging over the last 3 or 4 years in terms of online safeguarding. So that's what we do. Yeah.
That's quite a broad remit there, Ken. And yeah, respect to you, because I know the breadth of support that you've provided with your resources and guidance over the years. Just talking about activities today, you've obviously had fun at Anfield or thereabouts. In a broader sense, for everyone listening in terms of activities and resources, the kind of focus for today's, could you share some of the things that you've been producing collectively as an organisation?
Yes, of course. Well, you know, so there's a number of different tacks we take. You know, one of our philosophies is that we like to produce resources that allow schools and other organizations who work with children to be able to self-support themselves in terms of the strategies they develop. And sort of there's a suite of tools that we've developed that have been placed now for over 10 years. 15,500 schools are using them. Which is the 360-degree safe suite of tools. So there's the classic one for schools. So if you want to be able to shape a really effective and robust safeguarding strategy for your school, then 360-degree safe is a free self-review tool that not only gives you a continuum on which to measure yourself, but also allows you then to give you the advice and resources to make the next step and to track that progress too, as well. As I said, that's been running for 10 years, and each year we produce State of the Nation reports, how tools like this are moving the whole nation on one school at a time. But if you're not in a school and you're coming to this from a different angle, if you work with children and young people in any organization, whether that's Cub Scouts, Brownies, leisure centers, libraries, children's play groups, we also have other iterations of 360, which takes the DNA of 360 for schools and applies it to those sort of settings as well. And again, they're all free. If you're working specifically in early years, where I think some of the fundamental building blocks are placed, and very often it's an area that we often overlook, you know, in very young children. We also produce 360 early years to support those sort of settings, whether they're partner schools or non-maintained settings or private settings, to be able to support and apply that same sort of robust. But, you know, for us, I think one of the biggest shifts that we've had and we've seen and we've developed over the last 6 years has been the development and the change we've tried to bring onto the landscape around online safety resources. And we wanted to develop something that was really pragmatic, non-moralizing, covered a wide age group, that was phase relevant, that was context relevant, that resonated with children and young people, and that covered all the different ecosystems that children and young people find themselves in, whether that's talking about yourself or your immediate friends into wider social groups to which you belong, or indeed societal ones around ethics and culture and indeed legislation. So one of the biggest projects we've been working on now for the past few years is a project called Project Evolve. Again, it's a free resource for people to go and use. It's been phenomenally successful in terms of engagement. So just over the last year, we've managed to have nearly 8,000 schools registered with the tool. There are over 27,000 teachers and other users using the tool itself. And also we've just introduced a new system whereby you can cast a net over the children that are sat in front of you, whether it's your class or whether it's your youth group, to actually determine what their needs are in terms of digital literacy, media literacy, digital citizenship, online safety. And that tool again is free. Since we released it in September, 225,000 separate assessments have been done, which leaves us in a really unique place to actually not only tell you what schools are engaging with, but also we're beginning now to get very, very granular data around what children know, and not just what they know, where there are gaps in their knowledge, where there are misconceptions, where there's wrong knowledge acquisition around concepts, and where there's secure reflective understanding. And that sort of data is really important, because these landscapes that children and young people inhabit are immensely complex. These soundbite messages we've had for the past 10 to 15 years are no longer fit for purpose. We need something very granular, very focused, age appropriate, context appropriate, and developmental appropriate as well. And that's what we're hoping to do with Project Evolve. So they're the main tool sets with which we can hopefully begin to change the landscape too.
And before Mark dips in with some questions about specifics on Safer Internet Day, those kind of resources and data you have available is available to all teachers across the country, isn't it? There's no reason why anybody shouldn't be engaging and coming and having a look at your resources.
No, absolutely. And in fact, to a certain extent, it's very easy to get drawn into the trap to thinking we just create resources for schools. These are meant to be flexible and customizable enough, and that's how we've developed the mechanism that delivers it. These are not documents on a website. It's all driven by two separate databases. So if you are a police officer working in health or social care, or a foster carer, you can actually come to these resources and be able to find the things that you might want to draw on to use as some sort of post-incident educative response, or to begin to try and prevent or identify some of the issues that the children with whom you work face. So yeah, it's absolutely free to sign up. You'll need to create an account, but it will always be free. So by investing in this stuff, you're not going to be hit by a charge further down the line. It's part of our charitable objectives, and our partners, Nominet and previously the European Commission, are supporting us in developing this. And there's more to come too.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that, Ken.
You're welcome.
That's brilliant, Ken. It's so inspiring and really exciting too, isn't it? I wanted to ask you, sort of wrapping things up about Safer Internet Days today, have there been any sort of highlights of the data? I mean, we mentioned Anfield. What other things, that's something you've been involved in. What have you seen sort of going on and happening in schools around the landscape? And I know it's something which is supported far beyond the UK as well, but are there any sort of massive bright spots that you've seen across the day?
Yeah, oh, completely. I mean, the way engagement has increased around Safer Internet Day has been absolutely phenomenal. It's almost been like an exponential curve over the 10 years that we've run it. And it seems to be a sort of fixed point in every school's calendar. So if you follow either the UK Safer Internet Centre feed or the Twitter hashtag, it's been trending on Twitter all day, because schools are just posting the various activities. So in one, the children came in one morning at a school I saw this morning, and they had a crashed alien spacecraft in the hall that the children then had to go and investigate and be able to educate this alien who'd landed around some of the things that they did online and they used online. And the focus today actually for Safer Internet Day was really relevant, because it focused very clearly on the gaming environment, and not just isn't gaming fantastic? But actually gaming is now this massive new social experience. It is a new social network, and all of the things that we worry about are things like, that we've worried around social media and the contact risks are now even more relevant within those gaming environments that young people do. So we've seen a lot of stuff done around gaming. We've seen a lot of people draw on resources like Project Evolve, and our peers as well are using the peers resources to focus on that specific gaming focus, not just about gaming itself, but also how you build respect, mutual respect, and empower yourself through that respect to be an empowered and effective gamer online and manage those online relationships. So yeah, incredible stuff from all around the UK, across all 4 nations too.
Brilliant stuff, fantastic, Ken. So before we say goodbye, is there anything else you'd like to share around all of this for our viewers at all?
Yeah, only to say that for those of you who have and do engage in Safer Internet Day, it's important to remember that it's just one day in the calendar, and it's not a box ticking exercise. It's a day to be able to celebrate the wider education that you bring to the children within your care around digital literacy, digital citizenship, media literacy, online safety. And so to use the ideas that are within the resource centre of the UK Safer Internet Centre too, but also I would encourage you to dive into resources like Project Evolve to begin to find the right way to thread this really important literacy into everything that you do, and to come away from this thing that it's associated with computers and technology. It isn't. It's woven into society. It's woven through all of our lives, whether you're talking about safeguarding or whether you're talking about literacy and understanding fact and opinion, or misinformation or disinformation, whether it's part of PHSE or RSE, or indeed wider humanity studies. There is a way of being able to weave this into what you do, because as I said, our children are no longer on the threshold of the 21st century. They're wading in it, and we're with them. And to be able to address this from a societal level for us is really important. So please, if you haven't already done so, go and have a look at some of those tools and resources and see how you can go and enrich your curriculum further by supporting those other areas too.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing today, Ken, after what I know has been a really busy day for you. So really appreciate you coming and joining us. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and good luck with the rest of your stream. It's been a delight. Thank you. It's great to see you two guys.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Ken. I really appreciate you giving us some time. Thank you ever so much. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Ken. Bye.
Amazing work they do, and big respect to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really nice as well. It's interesting, perhaps nice is the wrong word, to hear that focus as well. It was something that picked up in the States, that if we think about recent experiences, particularly in the States, that equipping young people with the skills to validate data, to actually challenge and be able to have the right skills and understanding to not necessarily take the information that's presented as given.
Yeah,
and we do forget that actually when we talk about the broader narrative of young people and their safety, actually technology is but one part, and I'm kind of really pleased that Ken kind of reiterated that. It's much, much wider than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good start to the show. Fantastic. Shall we introduce our next guest?
Yeah, absolutely. Over to you.
I'm really pleased to be introducing our next guest from the Internet Watch Foundation, Will Few. Will, welcome to the show. And as if by magic, here he is. Good to see you, sir.
Nice to see you both again. How are you both?
Very good, thank you.
Very well, thank you. Thank you.
Now, the reason why I was really pleased to be inviting you on, Will, is obviously if I wear my NetSport, my vendor hat, we've worked with you for many years and know the really challenging work that your team have to undertake to provide the resources to help keep people safe online, and the resources that we take from you and put into our technology to help continue that effort in keeping learners online. But there may be some people who don't know about the work and the role of the Internet Watch Foundation. So maybe as a quick starter for 10, you could provide a synopsis for those listening in of what you good selves do.
Of course, happy to. So we're a not-for-profit charity based here in Cambridge, just outside Cambridge. And we help victims of child sexual abuse by finding and removing the images and videos of their abuse from the internet. And so that's our vision. That's why we exist. Our vision is an internet completely free of child sexual abuse material. Now, to do that, we have a team of analysts. Our analysts have been going into the office every day throughout lockdown, throughout the whole pandemic and everything like that, and taking reports from the public. So that's one of the key things, is that if anyone ever stumbles across something that they think might be child sexual abuse, they can report it directly to us, directly to our analysts, anonymously, completely confidential, in complete confidentiality, and our analysts will take the assessment. They'll have eyes on every single report that we get through, and if it is child sexual abuse material, we take the steps to remove it from the internet. So that's how we get our reports. Firstly, is from the public. Now, the public can report on our webpage. If you go to our webpage, iwf.org.uk, every page on that, you are able to click the red button to report. So that's how we get from the public, but also from our proactive searching. So we're one of the only organizations in the world that's legally able to proactively search the internet for child sexual abuse material. We've got a very close working relationship with law enforcement and with government, which allows us to do that. And it's because of that, because of our reports from the public, because of our proactive searches, we are able to remove an awful lot of content. And unfortunately, the numbers they're not pleasant reading, and they go up year on year. So last year, so in 2021, we assessed 361,000 web pages for potential child sexual abuse material. Now, each one of those reports, each one of those 361,000 reports, has had eyes on from our analysts to confirm if it is criminal. And of those, 252,000 were criminal. So that's 252,000 URLs, 252,000 web pages that we've removed from the internet that have contained one or maybe thousands of images or videos of child sexual abuse material. And now what we're able to do is gather an awful lot of data, provide that in turn to our members, of which we're very proud to call Net Support One, to help keep their platforms, your platforms, as free of child sexual abuse as possible.
Thank you for sharing that, Will.
It's harrowing reading and the news, isn't it? Really, well, every time we talk, it's just such a sobering conversation, really. But I think it's definitely worthwhile, reiterating the message, really, because I think it's so important that we're able to learn from all these things. You produce as an organisation some learning resources as well, don't you? And things for sharing out so people can learn more about these things. Can you share a little bit about the resources that you create as an organisation that people can use to help them in their thinking and framing around all this?
Of course. Well, I think Ken covered it quite well, actually, the previous speaker. So we're 1/3 of the Safer Internet Centre, along with Southwest Grid and ChildNet. And we're able to produce a fantastic amount of resources through them, which is fantastic. I definitely recommend going to the site and checking that out. We've also been able to carry out a certain few things our side. So we've run a particular campaign, for example, on self-generated child sexual abuse material. Now, that's something we've seen a massive growth in, especially throughout the pandemic. Just to give you an idea of what that is, that's where a child has been coerced, tricked, groomed into performing sexual acts on themselves, often within the space of their own home, be it their bedroom or be it their bathroom. They don't know that the person on the other end of the webcam, the other end of the camera, as I'm speaking to you now, is recording that abuse, and then publishing it on the internet for everyone to see, for anyone with a sexual interest in children to see. So what we did was we ran a campaign. We're still running a campaign based on this, trying to educate both carers and parents, and also the demographic that we see as most at risk, which is girls aged 11 to 13. So we've done a lot of fantastic resources, fantastic campaign. Our comms team really need to take a lot of credit for that, and some of the resources that they've been able to produce just to highlight this issue. Tell girls aged 11 to 13 that, empower them and tell them it's okay to say no to all of this, and also be a little more hard hitting towards the parents and carers, have that talk with your child, and make sure you set the boundaries.
It is very sobering, the scale of the challenge, and I think one of those difficult ones is to not shy away from the conversation, even though we know that it's there. And I think the more that these kind of discussions and platforms, and the more that the combined activities and efforts that you're doing to really make people aware of these challenges and to be more self-aware within the home of the way that you may feel your children are safe in the traditional sense by supervising what they're doing on their laptop, but actually you don't know what they're doing with their phone in the privacy of their room, and being mindful of those challenges as well. Well, you touched on, I just thought it's a nice way to wrap up. You shared a kind of that overlap of work that you're doing. Often on our show, it's lots of organizations that are edtech startups coming up with new technology and solutions. So obviously I'm keen, as part of our conversation, to talk about how you can support anybody who's looking to develop new solutions, alongside, I know, all the ISPs that you work with across the country.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we have 173 members. That's mostly how we're funded, actually, is through our membership model. As I say, we're a not-for-profit charity. And what we're able to do with all of that data that we collect, so as we're removing child sexual abuse content, we collect that data and we're able to turn it into services, which we're then able to provide to our members, to say, to help keep their networks as free of child sexual abuse as possible. So, for example, one of those is our hash list. Now, every time we find an image and we confirm it is criminal, what we'll do is we'll hash it. We'll turn it into basically a series of numbers and letters. We think of it as giving each image its own digital fingerprint, and that's what a hash is. So, and that's what we're able to do, is every image that we action, every image that we confirm as criminal, we hash, we turn into this digital fingerprint, and we add to our list. So currently we've got more than 1 million hashes on our hash list, and that's only growing. We're able to provide that to our members, to those in the internet industry, to be able to take the hashes, implement it on their system, on their network, and ensure that images can never be uploaded, to ensure that images can never be shared, can never be talked about, can never be uploaded, can never be downloaded. It's a fantastic tool. To give you an idea of another service is our keywords list. So every time our analysts find a particular sort of language that might lead to child sexual abuse material, they give it a keyword, and that goes on our keywords list, and again pushed out to our members, to those in the internet industry, to ensure that those keywords are logged, and it can be added to any moderation that's going on, any chat function, any search function, anything like that. I mean, that's just 2 of our services, but we do have we've got quite a few. So yeah, if any of those are of interest, then yeah, please do get in touch.
Thanks for sharing that, Will.
Brilliant stuff, Will. And just to remind our viewers of where they can find out more information about your work, where they head to, Will?
Thank you. Yeah, so onto our website, which is iwf.org.uk. Please do visit, and yeah, special thanks to you guys and for supporting us. As you say, it's important to be part of the conversation, and so it's really important that you guys have me on. So thank you very, very much for that, and yeah, please keep doing what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Pleasure to see you, Will.
Yeah, good to see you both as well.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, they do some amazing work, and sadly, sometimes, you know, it's the invisible stuff that's the most important. We often talk about the shiny functionality within technology, but behind the scenes, actually preventing that data actually ever getting onto the screen is the most important thing. And they're a very dedicated team. Certainly, the challenges they've had the last 18 months. So, 2 really good starters for our show tonight, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is really sobering. But like I say, it's like you shared, it's important to not shy away from that conversation, I think. So, you know, to have information is to be informed, isn't it? And so from there, you can start to move forwards, can't you?
Absolutely. So who's next?
So next up, we have someone who I first met on UK Edu Stories when I used to run that show with Bookie.
No way.
Yes, way back when. Back right during the sort of heavy throngs of the early parts of the pandemic and what have you. But when we were starting to sort of map out the show for this evening and the structure, I thought it was really important to hear from teachers, to hear about the things that they've been doing across Safer
Oh,
Internet
man.
Day. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto the Check Out Ad Show this evening Michelle Grant. So welcome, Michelle. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Hi, Mark. Hi, Al. How are you doing?
Hi, Michelle. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
You've got more books than I've got.
Oh, this is only a small fraction of the books that I have in this house. And as you can see, I live with hoarders. So we keep everything and we have books stacked everywhere.
Best way, I reckon.
Absolutely.
Do you want to start with the first question for Michelle?
Well, I mean, we've got so many questions. Given what today is, I think what we're both really keen to understand is what you've been doing, what your focus has been as part of Safer Internet Day at your school, and I'm sure we might come on to how that feeds into the more of the broader annual cycle of activities that you undertake.
Okay, so I'm a year 4 teacher and I'm also the computing lead in my primary school. And so this kind of discussion that I had with Mark came about because I was tasked with telling the other teachers in a staff meeting what they should be planning for today. So I put a call out on Twitter and said, oh, what should I include in my staff meeting PowerPoint? And I got some really lovely responses. And then Mark said, yeah, why don't you come on this show and share what you've been doing? So last week I shared lots of different resources that I found on the internet about all the different ways that you can celebrate Safer Internet Day, and the day has arrived. We decided in our school to allow teachers to respond in any way that they wanted with all the resources that I was able to provide. And so we had, obviously, there was resources from the UK Safer Internet Centre. There was Barefoot Computing that had some stuff. There was stuff on Twinkle. There's stuff from Code Club. There's stuff from Google Interland and lots of other resources that other organisations that put out. So each class teacher responded in a different way, thinking about the needs of their class. Lots of stuff on the BBC website as well. And so it was a great way for the class teachers to individualize how they were going to respond to the day. In terms of what we did in Y4, we began the day with getting on the Chromebooks and having a discussion about what they knew about keeping themselves safe. And we went to Google Interland, which is an environment that's a few years old now, but it's so good because you have these different worlds which have a different online focus, and children are able to play games that all have a safer internet theme. And so the learning as they're actually playing, and it's a really fantastic accessible resource for children to get very excited about. We followed that by a craft activity because there was an avatar, a character called an Internaut, and there was a PDF that you could cut out and assemble. So we had a very hands-on craft activity afterwards, and the children could take that home. And then we had a PowerPoint discussion using the lesson that was provided by the UK Safer Internet Centre. And again, just as Ken mentioned, it was around this alien that landed from another planet that needed to be taught lessons on how to behave sensibly online. So we decided to call our alien, surprise, surprise, Bob. And Bob the alien knew nothing about what to do online, but he was really excited because he'd seen from afar how fantastic the internet was. What it led to was some brilliant discussions from the children about the things that they enjoyed, the experiences they had, ways in which they could operate online, how to protect themselves, how to make the internet a better place. So things about being able to express yourself in a way that you would in real life, not thinking that just because you're behind a screen, you can do whatever you like just because you can't see the expression on the person's face that you're saying those words to, and that some of those words could be really, really hurtful. So we had lots and lots and lots of discussion about all of those issues, and it was really empowering because it was about making sure that the children explored and respected those precious relationships online. It was a great it was a great way to run the lesson, because within the PowerPoint there were lots of different scenarios, and children were able to understand what to do when things went wrong, who to ask if they saw something that was distressing to them, how to react to some of those scenarios, so they were getting those skills in order to protect themselves and be kinder to others. And then towards the end of the lesson, we were able to put together a series of guidelines for what would make the internet better and what would make their experience within the internet better. So it was really good, because it was about making sure that the children understood respectful behavior, which is something that you always have going on in the classroom anyway, but it was just reinforcing that these things need to be talked about while you're online as well.
Well, it sounds like a jam-packed day for you, Michelle.
Absolutely. And that's what we did in Y4. I'm quite sure that they would have done something slightly differently in Y6, using lots of the video resources that were tailored towards more upper Key Stage 2, and then the younger ones down in Key Stage 1 would have probably done more things that are tailored to the younger children. And as you know, particularly with the pandemic, a lot of parents just put their children in front of an iPad and left them to it. And a lot of children are growing up on YouTube videos. So they would have had access to some of the materials that were age appropriate to them. And because we left it to the teachers to decide how they wanted to plan their day, it just meant that we were having a really tailored response.
No, fantastic. Thanks for sharing all of that, Michelle. I want to sort of follow up with some questions about sort of general hints and tips. You know, it's lovely to have Safer Internet Day, but every day is a Safer Internet Day, really, isn't it? And so that falls within your remit in your role as well. If you're I mean, the parents thing aside, and I get that completely as a parent of a year 6 and year 8 children myself. You know, the comment there about YouTube and what have you. You know, we all face the same issues with our own children. But if I was to put you in front of, you know, using the platform we've got here on the show now. If you were to, you know, have a voice to share to other people in similar roles to yourself, have you got any hints and tips about how to effectively sort of support the conversation around online safety within a primary setting?
Yeah, definitely. So it's about giving the children a safe and non-judgmental space to share. So, like I said, I heard stuff today, which I'm probably not going to repeat, about the things that children were playing. I wasn't judging them, but I was telling them how to keep themselves safe, because it's about making sure that children understood that whatever they're deciding to do, whether their parents are allowing them to play 18+ games, that this is how you're supposed to do things. This is what the PEGI guidelines are for, and what to do if they see something that's just inappropriate. So it was giving them the tools to be able to react to that, and for the children to feel safe enough to be able to share that. That was incredibly important and very empowering. The other thing that I did is that I shared the materials that I was using today with parents. We have Class Dojo in my classroom. So I put Class Dojo is a platform where you can have your classroom and you can communicate with parents online. So I put the resources that I used onto the Class Dojo, so the parents could see exactly what I was doing. So I put the link to Interland on there, I put the link to the paper craft on there, and I just invited children to carry on the discussion at home, and invited the parents to then take up that mantle with their children to keep the dialogue going, so that the children felt that they could talk in the classroom and then they could talk to their parents at home. And I think that is the biggest tip, because everyone knows that that's the most important thing about teaching. It's all about those relationships. And for me, I have a very strong view that it's also about the relationships with the families and the carers as well. So if you are putting all of this stuff out into the arena of the classroom, you need to involve the families in that discussion as well, so that they are all part of it. Because as the other speakers were saying, Ken, the first speaker, and Will, the second speaker, it's a societal discussion. It's about digital literacy. It's about making sure that families and children together understand the importance of how to make the internet a better place.
I think that's so relevant, and thank you for summarising it so clearly there. I think the first three speakers this evening are lovely because it really dovetails into this concept of it's much broader. It's about the children, it's about empowering staff with the right resources, but it's about getting the family and the broader community engaged. Because frankly, we've all got learning to do. It's not just the children that need to do some learning on this. And sounds like you've had a fantastic day. Last question, if I may, before we kind of move on to our next guest, is do you see the Safer Internet Day as a fresh catalyst within the school to re-engage with some of the conversations that you feel are important around the broader digital citizenship and empowering our learners with the skills to keep themselves safe?
Well, I think it's more than that. It's embedded in the curriculum now. So within my school, and I'm quite sure it's within all primary schools and secondary school settings predominantly, it's part of the RSE curriculum. So it's not just something that you pull out for one day in February. It's actually part of your scheme of learning. So within the lovely fun stuff that we do today, within your curriculum, there are, within mine anyway, for year 4, there are 6 lessons all about online safety, which you have to teach anyway. So it's something which is actually embedded, so that conversation is always happening. It's also embedded in the computing curriculum because you're getting images online. You need to have those discussions about what is fake, what is real. In all of the computing curriculum, you do image manipulation, you do about copyright, you do about all of those things, which is part of that digital media literacy strategy. And then as you go further up into secondary school, this is what children study with the media courses that go further up into Key Stage 4, 5 and beyond. So it's not a standalone day. It may have started that way, but because the curriculum has widened to embrace it, it's most definitely established and embedded in the curriculum right from foundation stage right up to right at the end, Key Stage 5.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. That's obviously, for all of us, we kind of have that vision, and we know that for many schools that's the case. And it's always about making sure that today is not just about getting that broader message, but also kind of building on those core skills. So thanks for sharing, Michelle.
Yeah, brilliant. So thank you for giving up some time. And I'm sure you're very tired at the end of a half term. Looking forward to Friday. I'm assuming you're breaking up on Friday as well. So thank you for staying up and giving us some time this evening as well, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Take care. Bye.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming on. Cheers, Michelle.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Really, another really interesting one. It's also interesting touching on that, as often referred to by Mr. Al McKenzie, good friend of the show, about that digital inhibition, the way that young people learn to interact in or often interact in a different way online than they would when they're with their peers, and that dynamic of how to actually act respectfully. It's something that sometimes gets taken for granted, but sounds like the team there and Michelle have got it absolutely nailed down for their activities, which is great to hear.
No, absolutely. So if I could just push you to the side for a second and then bring you back in. Welcome to our next guest on the show this evening, Mr. Al Keatley. Forgive the lack of introduction because we're already here, obviously, and mindful of time and things. But here as an organisation, we've been doing a few things to support Safer Internet Day as well, haven't we? I mean, it's part of the fabric of the products and the work we do here at NetSupport anyway, isn't it? But what have we been doing as an organisation to support?
I think as we've already seen, part of what we do is about, we're very much built around the idea of sharing, because actually by sharing, we also learn at the same time. And we have a relationship. We work with Internet Watch Foundation and have done for many, many years. But what we recognise, where we work with technology solutions to help provide that wraparound care, that online support, aligned with KIXI if you're listening from the UK, or SEPA if you're in America, is recognising that actually there's loads of amazing resources out there for online safety. And we've heard about plenty this evening. But sometimes it's about streamlining that information that makes it accessible for teachers, students, and in many cases for parents. So each year we produce, and Mark, I'm telling you about something that you've been very heavily involved in and co-authored along with other members of the team. So I'm not really telling you anything you don't know, but for those listening, we do a free online safety guide, really trying to simplify and visualize and put those kind of key elements together that we make available from our website. And what does it cover? That kind of simple, what is online safety, which sounds like an obvious question, but for some, that's a good starter for 10 discussion. breaking down some of the stats and facts and the kind of key areas of concern for grooming, cyberbullying, sexting. Every year there's different games and challenges that present potential issues and concerns for our children. Of course, along with prevent radicalization, social media, how schools can be involved in tackling those issues, educating children about the risks. The list goes on, linked around monitoring tools and the things we do. So really the guide is there as a free resource. Something else that alongside all the other publications that we do as NetSport, we make available to schools. And each year it kind of grows and the demand gets greater. I mean, you can perhaps share some of the bits that you think are really most salient within the guide, Mark.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When it comes to things like Will was sharing when he came on as a guest earlier, there's so much data and stats around all these different issues, and so what's been really lovely is sort of being able to sort of unpick those things and decipher them. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that I'm a bit of a fan of the old infographic, and so sort of contextualizing the information, and maybe you could sort of show one of the pages here actually.
Exhibit A for our audience.
If
If it doesn't go blurry, let's see if I can get my coordination skills working, which actually is pretty rubbish.
Not working very well there, is it? There we go.
Yeah, you can kind of see we break down. That's on grooming, and it's not very clear because we've got a blur on. But for each category.
Yeah, for all the categories that I'll mention, there's a simplification of the data to make it really clear and visualize the information that you're sort of trying to look at here. So here's some more information on cyberbullying and the levels that are in here. Same with sexting. Yeah, and it breaks it down to make it really more digestible and accessible, rather than just being a table of data. Alongside that, there's lots of advisory pieces in here as well. And what we've tried to do is make it a resource which is useful not just for just for teachers and for those people sort of leading on computing and online safety and safeguarding within your setting, but useful for children as well, and all sorts. And there's a fantastic section at the end, because honestly, like Will was saying, that there's new terminology all the time, and I might say something, I think I'm down with the kids with the latest vernacular, but I'm really not. So there's a fantastic glossary at the end which goes through all, not all, but a lot of the terminology that you might be seeing being used by some of your children in your setting in school as well, and it's a useful guide in there for parents. So if you don't know your cupcaking from your end it all to your fire fairies, to your groomings, to your virals, to your upskirtings and so forth and so on, then there's something inside this guide for you. And again, it's just really lovely to, as an organisation, be able to sort of support schools and teachers and communities and families in this kind of a way, to be able to give a really accessible guide that can help you keep on top of what is an ever-changing, difficult arena. So yeah, if you want to download a free copy, you should be able to see scrolling across the bottom now, the link there. Just go to netsportsoftware.com/online-safety-guide, and you can download the guide there for free. It's a PDF there. Just to get it downloaded, and feel free to share it with your colleagues and your communities. It's there for you to use as a resource to support you in the important work that you do within your settings.
Yeah, I think the key message which all of our guests so far this evening, and I'm sure the rest will continue to do, is that kind of resources that we provide is for anybody and everybody. And I think the more we share, the more we empower that information, the better. So I'm pleased that it's something that we can do as a very, very small part of the broader activities that we've already heard about this evening. But we've talked about our free guide. We've also got a long queue of additional resources and solutions and speakers this evening to listen to. So I think we should move on to our next guests.
Absolutely, and we're on time as it looks right now as well, which is a first for the Check It Out show, I believe.
Let's not tempt fate.
Not tempt Providence.
We've still got plenty of time to run away with it. But the next guest we've got on the show, somebody that I think will be really interesting, and somebody again that we've got a working relationship with. But pleased to introduce Sam from CPOMS.
Mark, and nice to see you.
And as if by magic, there's Sam.
She is. Hi, Sam, how are you doing?
It's brilliant, this site, isn't it?
Surprise.
Good, thank you.
Great stuff. Well, listen, thank you for coming and joining us on the show this evening, Sam. CPOMS, first of all, what does it stand for? And what is it you actually do?
I mean, everyone always asks that question. What is CPOMS? What does it stand for? I mean, it used to stand for Child Protection, Online Monitoring and Safeguarding. Now we do just refer to it as CPOMs now because it's used for so much more than safeguarding. So it kind of isn't as relevant as it used to be, the name. So yeah, that is where the name comes from. I mean, we get lots of people saying POM, CPOM, pom-poms, what is that? But yeah, that's your definition there. And what is it? It's well, I mean, really, it's basically just an online system that schools and other settings are using to record concerns. So people concerns, and that could be anything from a safeguarding concern, a behaviour concern, or just general pastoral concerns and conversations that staff are having with pupils as well. So it's really a whole host of things that schools can use it for. So the idea is that staff can input these concerns electronically and securely. I know when you think of online and safeguarding, everyone goes, what on earth? Why would I put that online? But it really is just ensuring that information is really safe and secure. And as well, a lot of the time it's reassurance for a lot of staff. Sometimes staff can't get out of the classroom to tell somebody because they're on their own. So having that platform where they can input it and have that reassurance that it's been sent directly to the safeguarding team or the relevant staff member is absolutely crucial for some staff members. But the system itself really can do all sorts. Staff would input and you can generate reports on that. So you're gathering data constantly, you're inputting information all the time, and it's just becoming kind of like a one-stop shop. So everything about a pupil is in one system because, I mean, if schools don't have online systems like CPOMs, a lot of the time they are paper-based. So as you can imagine, paper forms everywhere, filing cabinets full. So it can get quite a lot, can get quite hectic. So yeah, CPOMs really is about keeping everything in one place, and all that information that is inputted, they can gather reports on, governor's reports, reports for inspections and so on. So yeah, that's quite a little summary there of CPOMs, but there you have it.
Thank you for sharing that, Sam. And you started off by saying it's just, and I think the thing that I always like to clarify is, I think the solutions that provide that central capture and reporting and logging of concerns are about as an essential part of the school toolkit as we can offer within our schools. And the key is always about that kind of scale and usability. So, I think we shouldn't underestimate the role that your technology and similar solutions, we try and be device platform agnostic, but the kind of role that plays. One thing we always try and ask guests, and I know we're here on Safer Internet Day, but we always kind of say, just to share perhaps some of the highlights about where the strengths of your solution are for anybody listening and thinking about perhaps moving from a paper-based system to looking for a digital solution to start connecting up.
That's it, isn't it? It's that daunting process of having, because there's so many people who love the paper and they've got it all organised, so they think, how is moving it online going to help in any way? But there's so many factors for the way that CPOMs can help, and I think one of them is, especially for teachers, it allows them to teach because they don't have to think about the administration of it all. There's so much to do when it comes to paperwork, filling it out correctly, passing it on to the right person, filing it away, then putting it onto that spreadsheet. All they need to do is think about putting it on a form, and then it's sent to the safeguarding team, and that is their kind of, at that point, their job done. They can get on with teaching. So that is one of the massive things. And again, it's that security for them, knowing that what they have found has been sent to those relevant people securely. I think as well, it comes down to reporting. Before schools use CPOMs, they are doing these reports manually. So again, it takes ages. I mean, I'll speak to some staff and they'll be saying, I was up till midnight last night trying to create this report for governors. I had to cross-reference here, there and everywhere. I had some in my email, some on paper. Whereas with CPOMs, it is literally a click of a couple of buttons and you will have the data that you need there. So massively time saving. And I think as well, now that CPOMs has developed to more than just using it for safeguarding, schools can start thinking about allowing more staff to see more in the system. So, for example, you'll have safeguarding leads who see everything in the system, But now you can have teachers using it who can see behaviour and bullying and peer-on-peer concerns as well. So it's opening up kind of a file to all staff members rather than keeping it all restricted to just the safeguarding team. So it's keeping everyone in the loop a lot more than it would do if it was paper-based, really. And it isn't just schools making use of it. There's so many sites now using CPOMs. You've got colleges, you've got your nurseries, you've got football clubs and charities and any other alternative provisions. So it's just allowing kind of any site to have a space to record people concerns.
Very much aligned with the same measure from Ken at Southwest Grid for Learning, which is really, it's much broader than just schools. Mm-hmm. One of the other ones from our kind of EdTech focus here is about the fact that not only do you provide that central point, but you've got a feed in from other solutions to escalate concerns, but also you provide, where appropriate, that kind of core bit of information for engagement with external agencies to actually support schools where there may be challenges or concerns. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's integrations in place with quite a few different sites that are used by schools. So like the kind of internet tracking sites, if they flag up in that system, you can have it integrate with CPOMs so that it'll show in CPOMs as well. So it's really about bringing everything together as much as possible. So teachers and staff can spot those signs and track those patterns much easier.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. That's really interesting. And it seems like an absolute no-brainer for a school to want to sort of try and get that. But I'm assuming there are other solutions on the market that do similar sorts of things. So thinking about CPOMs compared to your competitors, what is it that sort of sets CPOMs above, and what differentiates the work that you do compared to some of your competitors, Sam? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. There's lots of other providers that do very, very similar. The idea is to have that electronic space for schools. But I think with CPOMs, one of the things that schools have always told us that they love is the customization of it. And that really, really helps in terms of it's not just about schools using it. So that's when you've got like your football teams coming in, because they won't have the same needs as a school will, or a charity won't have the same need as a school will. So by being flexible with kind of how schools can use it has been really beneficial. They can match it to their policies and their terminology. Rather than them trying to fit into a box, they can use it as and how they want to. So I think that's one of the biggest things. I mean, with CPOMs, there's just over 15,000 schools and settings using it at the minute. So when it comes to transfer of data, the likelihood of a school in your area using CPOMs is quite big. So CPOM systems speak to each other, and you can electronically transfer that data across, which is a huge bonus if there is schools in your area that have it. We've got a great customer support team. A lot of the time, people will come to CPOMs and they'll say, I just need help with it. Or obviously, there's a lot of people who aren't used to online sites. So we don't leave people to it. There's so much support. And I think, again, that's something that schools are always coming back to us and saying. I mean, they always say, oh, I'm getting so used to the same northern voice on the phone. And they just really, really value that support that we can offer every day.
Sam, thank you for sharing that. With our ruthless timekeeping, we're going to have to ask you the final question, which is, where can people find out more? And they can probably just look down at the bottom of the screen right now, but would you like to reiterate?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, cpoms.co.uk. We are on social media at cpomsuk, and you can also call us as well. So the number is 01756 797766.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you, Sam. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Another good summary. Lots of information there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well-respected system.
So, who's on next on the show tonight, Mr. Kingsley?
It is the one and only NatterHub, and I believe we have been joined by Caroline. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Good evening. How are you?
We are doing well. And yourself?
Yep, very well, thanks. Safer Internet Day is a bit like NatterHub's Christmas Day, I think. So,
have you been busy by any chance?
Sorry?
Have you been busy by any chance?
Yeah, we've been quite busy. Yeah, it's been really good. It's just amazing to see, despite teachers being, busier than ever with more demands placed on them, and with the issues presented by COVID and absences, teachers are still finding time to really focus on Safer Internet Day. So we're very grateful for that.
Brilliant. Well, lovely to see you again, Caroline. For those who haven't seen you on the show previously, could you share a little bit about what NatterHub is, and why would Safer Internet Day be something of particular busyness and hive of activity for you in relation to what you do?
Sure. Well, NatterHub is a gated social media educational platform. It's been designed especially for primary school, so that children can really learn the skills that they need to be safe, savvy, and kind online. It's packed with lessons. It's gated to the school. It's very interactive. It's very much a children's space. The feedback from children is that we designed it especially for them, but we've managed to handily slot teachers in there as well. It's full of activities and quizzes and polls. And as a whole school solution, we're really looking to provide schools with an early intervention to really be able to embed digital literacy, media literacy, online safety, digital citizenship right the way through from the beginning of primary school up to the top end. And really what we have, our vision for NatterHub is that it is the education that comes before children have their own independent mobile device. So obviously with Safer Internet Day, we have made the platform free for a period of 2 weeks around Safer Internet Day. We've been inundated with requests. It's been incredible. I think people are realizing that our platform is really a space that resonates with what children are using outside of school, so that not only is it a place where they can learn the knowledge that they need, have the conversations that are so critical to this space, but also have a safe gated environment where they can practice those skills. And that's the part that I think that we really encourage teachers to have the confidence to use and enjoy, and let the children really play in that space. We know that children learn best through doing, and that is very much the doing aspect of NatterHub, this safe gated space. So for Safer Internet Day, we've worked really closely for a few years now with the UK Safer Internet Centre, ChildNet, and using their resources through NatterHub so that they could be delivered to the classroom in a digital way. And also we've added NatterHub lessons and interactive activities for them to enjoy across the week as well. So yeah, it's been super busy, but I think Safer Internet Day obviously is just an incredible opportunity to get everybody talking about this space.
Caroline, you're a pro at the Check It Out show. You've preempted all of our questions and answered it all in one perfectly curated flow there. So really, really helpful. So I'm going to have to ask a slightly different question.
Oh, go for it.
So you've obviously you've made your resources available for a couple of weeks with the line with Safer Internet Day, and good on you for doing that. So from a school's perspective, if they're listening in now, or was often is the case over the week following, what would they expect if they come to the NatterHub website and sign up? What's the kind of steps, and how easy will it be for them to get registered and start getting the value out of the resources and that safe gated space that you share?
Yep, sure. Well, we've got an easy to use website. Sign up. There are free trials available to really have time to explore the site. We've really been aware that there's a real spectrum of confidence when it comes around using EdTech tools. And so for those that are really gung-ho and savvy about using technology, hopefully it's a really enjoyable journey. For those that are a little more reticent or a little bit less confident, we've really created a very scaffolded experience. So we've got some amazingly friendly customer service people who are happy to chat somebody right through every step of the way. And within the free trial period, there are demos available. There's lots of information around how we are curriculum aligned. Everything that happens within NatterHub is assessed and tracked, which makes it really easy for schools just to be able to click and teach. There is a small onboarding where somebody has to upload the pupils from the school into the account, and once you're in, you're in. I think what we really have worked hard to do is create an environment that children will instinctively know how to use. So anybody who's thinking about trying it out for the first time and thinks, oh, we've already had loads of platforms over the pandemic period, this is a space where children are really excited to use, and once you give them a login and a password, they'll be really good to go. I think the fact that it's really engaging means that there's really nice pace to the lessons. So for teachers, it's they've got their lesson plan, there's downloadable resources, there's even kind of a script to follow with notes at the bottom of the slides of the lesson. For those teachers who want to go a bit more off-piste, and really get conversations going in the classroom, it allows you that flexibility as well. And throughout all of our lessons, there are anonymous polls. So within those anonymous polls, every few slides of the lesson, which are all interactive, the teacher is presented with a poll. All the children vote on the poll. So there's never a point where you're not sure which children you have or about their experiences. That's able to inform you as you go through. So we've really tried with, obviously we are connected to the Twinkle Hive. So we've worked closely with them to create the content for our lessons. We've had lots of feedback. We're constantly adding new content to the site. As I said, we are really guided by the data from those anonymous polls. So when we see that children need more help or they're looking for more direction or guidance on a certain subject, we create more content around that. And we're able to, have teachers just be able to access it as and when they need it.
I wish you could be a bit more enthusiastic, Caroline.
I know. It's, I really need to try a bit harder.
I'm just going to sort of following Al's footsteps a little bit there, sort of coming up with an off-the-piste question for you, Caroline. You mentioned you've got a sort of breadth of resources. Could you share things linked into, like say, UK Safer Internet Centre and ChildNet and the work you do with Twinkle and what have you? Could you give us a flavour for what some of the more popular resources are that schools and teachers have been using?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those resources that I mentioned, they're part of what we term our NatterHub Plus section on the site. So that was really a section on the tool that happened by accident because we're really keen to collaborate with as many people. We know that there's some incredible resources around online safety, and anybody who's aligned with our mission, we'd really love to talk to them about, if they'd like to feature in that space. It's a really great opportunity to get the content directly to the pupils. Via the teacher, of course. I think our most popular resources are we've got two kinds of lessons. We've got teacher-led lessons, which are led by the teacher, very conversational, interactive, including the polls. They're finished off with a quiz, so this forms a simple assessment piece for the teacher. We also have, and this is something that we worked on in response to the changing face of schools in and amongst the pandemic, and they're proving to continue to be really popular. And that's our Natter-led lessons. So these are for really busy teachers who actually might not have time to prioritize, the issues brought up around Safer Internet Day across the year, but that's not a problem because our lessons can do that for you. They're animated teachers, talk the children through the slides right from year one. They're subtitled. The children can choose the font that they find easier to read. They can pause. They're interactive. They can slide objects around the screen. They can type in their answers. They can draw their answers. There's lots of different ways. We've really tried to appeal to different learning styles. They're perfect for home learning as well, so they can be dropped onto our news feed. The children can log in and do those in their own time. And because we have a parent login as well, those lessons actually in particular are an amazing way to really send that important messaging back to parents. We know from all the research that we do and all the parent webinars that we offer our NatterHub schools that parents really are welcoming direction and guidance. And so with the parent login, they're able to see the lessons that the children have been sent, that important messaging around acceptable behavior and how we interact, looking at the nuance of digital communication, how we behave on platforms, how we present ourselves in games, really building that digital resilience. All of that then can be reinforced using that triangular approach between parent, school and child.
Fantastic. Thank you, Caroline. Well, look, I'm sure we're probably over time already now. I tempted Providence by saying we were running to schedule for a change.
I'm so sorry if I've done
so
that.
much there for people to get involved with and to learn more. If people do want to find out more and get involved, Caroline, where can they go to get signed up for NatterHub?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from any schools who are even just not really sure which direction to take this subject. So please do get in touch. natterhub.com, any of the social media at NatterHub. We'd be really happy to help anyone who needs us.
Brilliant. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Caroline. Nice to see you again. Take care. Fantastic, Mr. Kingsley.
We're in the home straight.
We are in the home straight.
We've got some really cool stuff to talk about for the next probably half an hour or maybe longer, depending on how exciting our conversations go. Next up, a familiar face, a good friend of NetSport and the show. We have Tracy from iAvengers joining us.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you today?
Doing
Very
well.
well, thanks, Tracy. Nice to see you again.
And you. It's lovely actually to hear Caroline talking then about NatterHub. It sounds like it's really taken off. It's an amazing project that she's got there. It's just fabulous. So
Absolutely.
enthusiastic. Yeah. Good.
I've got two very informal questions to ask you before we dive into iAvengers. One is, where's your cape? And secondly, where's your furry friend who normally joins our conversations?
My cape, actually, I went into a school yesterday and they were so disappointed. They were like, where's your cape? I was like, oh, I really think I need to get one made up, you know.
I think you do.
My furry friend, she's inside today. I can't trust her not to be yapping. I don't know. She seems to have learned that every time I start talking, if she barks, she gets lots of attention. Nightmare. So I banned her from the office for a short while.
So seeing as we're not allowed to talk about pooches, can we talk about iAvengers? Perhaps you could share a bit of a highlight for everybody.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, we've done some amazing stuff. So we've currently got, for viewers that don't know about iAvengers, currently we're funded by the Police and Crime Commissioner in Derbyshire and Derbyshire County Council. So I'm working with every primary school across the city and the county. Well, I say everyone was offered the opportunity to join our peer-led programme. And we've had a take-up of just under 77% of schools. So we're doing fantastically well. And we're now rolling out to infant schools as well, because they're saying, actually, don't forget about us. We're seeing exactly the same issues. So yeah, iAvengers is doing really well, and we're currently running our iAvengers survey this term. So we're around about 2,000 responses on the survey. Again, really eye-watering stuff coming out of the survey, and we've made a slight change this year in that we've done a parent survey that mirrors the children's survey. So we're asking questions like, do you have parental controls on your devices at home? Do you sometimes go online when you should be asleep? Has someone that you don't know ever tried to make contact with you online? And as an online safety consultant, I know that these things are happening all the time. And I think that sometimes parents are a little bit oblivious to that, or they think that they've put things in place and that their children are safe, but actually their children are quite good at getting around those safeguards. So what we found this time, I've just checked the stats actually before I came on, because the survey is going to be running for we've got about another 4 or 5 weeks to run on it, and we're hoping to get around 8,000 responses this time. And at the moment, we've got just over a third of children say, yes, I've been contacted by someone that I don't know online. And when we've asked the same question to parents, only just over 5% of parents have said my child has been contacted by someone that they don't know online. So we know it's bringing up issues that we can really easily deal with. And we're trying to make parents aware of, actually, perhaps your children don't tell you everything that's going on online. So it's opening up some really good conversations and some really good resources around how we plug those gaps and how we educate children better. But yeah, the survey is looking to be absolutely champion this year. Not quite so many safeguarding issues this time, thank goodness. I think last time we ran the survey, we had all kinds of issues around grooming, beheading, extremism, radicalisation. It was, and these are primary age children. We've not had anything of that yet. There is time. I'm hoping that we don't get them. But again, it just shows us what children are doing and actually whereabouts we need to put that education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks for sharing that, Tracy. And it's those easy ins, those conversations that can really help frame it. And sometimes, with my parent hat on for a second, sometimes you can feel like you're in a library tower. But the things you're talking about are issues that I face myself as a parent, and I class myself as being somebody who's pretty savvy around all of these things. So if we've got some parents watching or some teachers watching, and you could offer them some advice, you could a few sort of starters for 10 for things that the parents or teachers could be sharing. As we've heard from Caroline before, that triangulation between home, school, and child is so important. Have you got some advice that you could share about some easy ins to try and support that sort of that wrapper of care that children need?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my first one would be, as parents, be interested in what your children are doing online, show an interest. If as a parent we understand what our children are doing, the sorts of things that they do and the motivators for what they do, then we're in a better place to look out for any kind of issues that might pop up. I think probably, I'd say right up there at the top is revisit those parental controls. If you've set them, go back and revisit them. Currently on the survey, we're standing at, last year it was 48% of children. This year we're on 52% of children say that they can bypass some or all of the parental controls on their devices. So we've got parents who will set those parental controls up and go, do you know, actually, I've done it. It's great. Parental controls, check. But we need to keep going back and checking that they still work, that they're still in place. We need to be checking things like, has my child added their fingerprint to the one that opens my iPad that I unlock for them so that they can use? And we know that children will add that, and they'll squirrel away with it with an iPad or a phone. So just keep on going back and checking on those controls, and making sure that we're filtering or setting up child-friendly accounts for children where we can. I think there was a stat this morning. I was driving into a school, and I think it was 51% of 11 to 14-year-olds have accessed adult content online. And this doesn't surprise me at all, based on my conversations when I go into school. And I think as parents, if we set up those child-friendly accounts so that we can block or filter that content so children find it harder to access or are less likely to stumble across it, then we're going to be keeping them safer. And I have had parents say to me, you know, actually, as an adult, I want to watch adult content. That's my bag. And for me, it's like, well, as an adult, that's your choice, but it's not okay that your children can access that content. So porn is a really, really poor educator. It's a poor educator around healthy relationships. It's a poor educator around consent. And we're seeing huge issues around peer-on-peer abuse at the moment and sexual violence. So as parents, if we can put safeguards in place so that our children have a safer experience when they're using the devices that we want them to use, we want to encourage them to use them because they learn so much. just making sure that they can do that in a safe and careful way. So engaging with them, really important. Setting up parental controls and checking on them, really important. And making sure that your children can't access that inappropriate adult content that we're seeing at a much, much younger age now. And actually, trust your children to do the right thing, I have to say, because for the majority of time, they absolutely are. For most children, they are doing what we would hope them to do. You know, they're going to push boundaries. Yes, they're going to take risks, but they're never really going to come to any significant harm. But trust them to do the right thing, because, as I say, for the vast majority of time, the vast majority of children are perfectly safe online.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's nice to end on that positive of recognizing that often children do make the right choices and we need to empower them to do that. For those 22% of schools in Derbyshire or elsewhere in the country that would like to find out more about what you're doing and have missed the opportunity, where can they find out more about your activities, resources and support that you offer, Tracy?
Well, they can go to the iVengeance website. I think I said last time, it's not a website name that just rolls off the tongue. So it's i-vengers.org.uk. So you can have a look there. You can catch me on Twitter. I am at Online Safety Hub. Just contact me if you want more information. And as I know that I mentioned last time, currently, I'm so excited. I'm hoping that it's this week, fingers crossed. The special agents part of the iVengeance website will also be, it'll be there ready for us to populate with resources for our children that have special educational needs and disabilities. So we're really sort of like up in the ante there. We need to make sure that we educate our SEND children in a much, much better way.
Indeed. And I've got one last question for you. Sorry to jump in, Mark. Any plans for BET this year, Tracy?
You preempted me.
I might have a hotel booked. Yes, I can't wait to see you at BET. I am giddy as a kipper. I really can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Which is my way of just signposting, as Mark was about to do. So I've stolen his thunder. That if you want to meet Tracy and find out more about iVentures, come and see us at the Net Sports stand throughout BET, and you'll find that Tracy will be there, and I'm sure she'll be with cape and with dog. Fingers crossed.
I will definitely, well, perhaps not the dog, but I will definitely have a cape. And yes, you can find me on the Net Support stand. I am really, really looking forward to seeing you guys.
As we are to you. It'll be lovely.
Absolutely.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tracy. Thanks. Bye. Fantastic. And as always, you know, every conversation I have with Tracy, we get this. You mentioned our good friend Al Mackenzie before as well. You know, I learned so much from Al and from Tracy, and as expected, just some great advice again shared. So thank you for sharing those little sage hints and tips there, Tracy. Thank you so much indeed.
So penultimate guest, who have we got, Mark?
Our next guest is another classroom teacher. This time we've got Jo Hodge joining for us. I believe she's from Skelmersdale. Am I right there, Jo? Skelmersdale, is that right?
I am from Skelmersdale, but I teach in Southport. So yeah, lovely to meet you both.
You too. Phase leader and year 6 teacher. How's your day been today, Jo?
Well, we've had a busy day today. As you know, in year 6, you're cramming everything in that you can possibly get in one day. So we've done a lot of internet safety today. I've been a very good girl, but I've also done other things as well. But yeah, typical day in year 6. If anyone's a year 6 teacher out there, you know what I'm talking about.
No, absolutely. Lots of pressures on curriculum time and SAT preparations and so forth and so on. It's a busy, tough job being a year 6 teacher, and particularly with you having extended responsibilities as well as a phase leader. Could you give us a flavour of some of the things you have been up to today around Safer Internet Day?
Well, obviously, we take a whole school approach at our school. So we've done lots of fun things today. I've invested in a lot of books for the school. I'm doing sort of a bit of a CAS plug tomorrow. We're doing a bit on World Book Day tomorrow. But definitely things like, you know, sharing books with the children is really important. So I bought a lot of nice online safety books. We've used the assembly from Safer Internet Day, and there's some great activities on there. Like, for example, in year 6 and year 5, we did the In the Moment activity, where it was given lots of scenarios for the children to think, what would you do in this situation? And what would you do? What would you not do as well? So that was really interesting to talk to children, because I think the good thing about Safer Internet Day resources is they all link to real life scenarios, don't they? And some of them were a bit of a dilemma, you know, it wasn't such a, you know, because I think sometimes there isn't a black and white answer when you're doing online safety with children. And so it's good to have those conversations with them. So we've used a lot of those today. We've looked at Barefoot, we've done some fisherman stuff using their cybersecurity resources. What else have we done today? We also use the Google Legends Internet Assembly resources. We love my children love the Interland. And to be honest, we do Google Legends quite a lot. And I'd sort of like thought, oh, we'll focus on Safer Internet Day stuff today. One of my kids goes, oh, Miss, can we do the Internauts? Because we're in the suite. And I said, great idea. That's a really good game. And it teaches them about the skills of online safety. Not that I'm any good at it. I'm rubbish at gaming. So, I mean, I'm always falling in the pit when I play that game. But yeah, so things like that. And, you know, Newsround, you know, we watch Newsround every day. I don't know if there's any teachers out there, because that's really good because it's current affairs. And they had a really nice one about gaming as well. There was some older people, you know, adults talking about gaming and sort of pitfalls and the good things, the positivity things that you can do when you're gaming online. So that was brilliant. You know, that was just sometimes you just find resources randomly, don't you? Because I don't know about you, but as teachers, there is so much stuff. Sometimes it's like, what do I pick out? You know, what's the good resources? What are going to be useful? So, you know, I know I've just been listening to NataHub. We used to use that as well. Also, I listened to Tracy, that iAvengers sounds brilliant. I mean, I just wish they had it in Lancashire. I'd be booking a place tomorrow. But yeah, just lots of different things, really. You know, Keops as well. There's a thing, you know, there's Hector's World. Because obviously early years, for example, my early years staff couldn't access, like, you know, the Safer Internet Day Assembly. It's far too adult for them. But, you know, Hector's World and those sort of videos are nice sort of content for them. So lots of different things, really, throughout the day. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I mean, as a whole school approach, I'm doing like, we always look at the SMART rules. That's what we use as our sort of rule of thumb. So I've had my online safety ambassadors recording those. They're going to go on the website and they've been talking about online safety then. Because this, I mean, I know it's leading into top tips, but having some children involved in online safety is really important, because I'm no spring chicken, as you can tell. So having children coming to me, I meet with them every half term and they tell me what's going on. They know about the games that they're playing. They know about the pitfalls in the games. And you know, it was quite shocking to hear Tracy talk about the fact that a lot, 50, you know, was it 50% or something adult, you know, those sort of percentages are quite terrifying as teachers, as you probably both know. That's like scary. You know, I was writing it all down as I was listening, thinking, oh, this is a bit scary. But, you know, having those children involved in that process is really important. And like you say, it's that triangle, isn't it? Your parents and getting everybody on board, really. Sorry, I'm tatting on. Go on.
No, I think you've just highlighted. I'm starting to feel quite guilty that it's 8:30 at night and we're expecting you to be here sharing some of your activities. You've had an amazing day, but we do really appreciate you sharing. And I think it is that about broadening the conversation and making sure we're not just sharing some of the resources, but we're hearing from the classroom of activities and what's working, which kind of feeds into our question that we're most interested in, is leading into those kind of top tips and things that you find have been most effective or you'd recommend to those listening in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always say we always like a bit of a rhyming thing, don't we, teachers? But I mean, I think keep it relevant, keep it relevant. I mean, I think it's doing things, drip feeding things. It's not, you know, Safer Internet Day is fabulous and we're talking about it today and it is a good way to highlight things, but I think it's getting involved in things on a constant basis. You know, we use the Project Evolve, so it's like doing a lesson, it links to PHSC, and, you know, looking at NSPCC, Speak Out, Stay Safe sort of stuff. You know, those all feed into it. It's doing things all the time, constantly, you know, using your communication accounts like your Twitter. We have Class Dojo, constantly putting things on there. Have you seen this resource? Yeah, it's like, I know we were saying about that triangle with parents, etc. Keeping everybody in the loop. I mean, I've already talked about getting the children involved with online safety. You know, we meet every half term, we do a newsletter. They're involved in the Smart Safe rules as well, the Stay Safe rules. So all of those sort of things, because that's your finger on the pulse, isn't it? They're the people who are doing it day in, day out. I mean, I'm not playing on Roblox every day of the week. So it's things like that, isn't it? Also getting parents involved, because I think parents are letting their children. I'm a parent, I've been there myself. I've got 2 older children now. But, you know, I know what it's like. It's trying to be, like she said, keeping involved with what they're knowing what's going on. What are they playing? You know, what are you seeing? You know, doing things like workshops. I do termly workshops with parents and child ones as well. So they get together and they talk about, because sometimes I think that conversation isn't happening, isn't it? It's a safe space, isn't it? Come do a workshop with me and we can talk about things like that. So those sort of things are really good. And we get the governors involved as well. I invite them to the meetings because I think some of them, you know, you've got older governors who maybe don't understand what's going on. And I think my governors loved it when the children were there talking about what they were doing. And the children are so savvy. They're lovely when you hear them talk. I've got even little year ones in my little online safety, you know, from year 1 to year 6. And they've still got something to say, you know, about, and, you know, they're really good at coming up with top tips and things like that. What else was I going to say? Yeah, like your website as well. I mean, any sort of communication, make sure it's current, up to date. Like we've just signed up to the National Online Safety. If anyone's involved in that, you can get quite a good deal off them. And they've got some fantastic help cards that actually are free. So you could download those, put those on your website as well. And if there's an issue going on, you can link to it. And I think from my role as a management role is, if there's a problem in a year group, I'll go in and chat to them. We'll have a conversation. It's just to being involved in what's going on. And it's not just like, as I say, one day. It's something that's got to be consistent throughout the year, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And a good shout out there for National Online Safety. They do some amazing resources, really good. So thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah, brilliant, Joe. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I mean, if teachers are watching, you're a great follow on social media yourself, talking about sharing things as well. So do you want to share where people can find out more and connect with you if they're an educator and wanting to sort of connect with you on that to sort of
I've got several Twitter handles. I've got @HodgeJoe is my famous one that's on there, but I've also got my school handle, which is @6H Mrs Hodge as well, if you want to follow me on there. I'm also Digital Schoolhouse. I've got, I think it's @Digital OLOL as well. So, but @HodgeJoe is my main one. So follow me on that one. Yeah, feel free.
Brilliant stuff, Joe. Well, I know it's later in the evening now. Thank you after a very busy day and still in the roll up to half term. Thank you so much for giving some time to come and share with us tonight. Thank you so much, Joe.
Oh no, you're welcome. Lovely to meet you both. Have a lovely day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers. Bye bye. Fantastic.
Some great tips there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as if we could have pushed the sort of boat out a bit further on the geography with this, because from Southport we do now have Nick Dempster joining us on the show this evening as well. So welcome to the show, Nick.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Al. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. I hope we didn't wake you.
No, it looks like it, doesn't it? It's very dark here. No, I'm fresh from a parents' evening tonight. So I've come parents' evening to, home, cooking tea, and then here I am, listening to some fantastic tips.
Great stuff. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to come and join us. And it's lovely to see you again. So it's been a long time since we had a chance to have a chat and things. Nick, so lovely to see you. Thank you for giving up some time to come and share on the show this evening as well. Just like we heard Joe for a second, what sort of things have you been up to at your school today?
So I mean, I've got a bit of imposter syndrome listening to Joe for all the fantastic things she's been doing. We, as a school, this kind of academic year, have moved into online safety books that we're studying every half term. So the one that we've done this time around is Troll Stinks, which focuses a lot on cyberbullying, social stereotypes. So as a school, where possible, people have done it today, but obviously with so much going on, and we've been celebrating Mental Health Week this week as well, so we didn't want to overload staff with so many different things. We just said, if at some point this week, ideally, you can focus on that and talk about the issues surrounding it. And that's brought up so many different kind of terminology that's used with children. So things like keyboard warrior, things like, making a snap judgment about somebody based on what they look like, or, one thing that they've said, and then making those kind of stereotypes. We basically let, right the way from reception up to year 6, study the same book each half term. And that's kind of really revolutionized the way that the children are constantly reminded of those kind of internet safety messages. Because the way we used to do it as a school is that every year group for the first half term of the year would do an e-safety unit of work. The idea was that, we'd get it fresh in their minds, and, then it'd be reminded, and then there it goes done. but the amount of issues we'd have on CPOMs, as mentioned before, about internet safety, and the same children that could give you the absolute perfect answer you want when Ofsted come calling are then the ones that are adding people they don't know on social media and being exposed to all sorts of things. So rather than doing it in that kind of insular start of the year, we decided to do very similar to what Joe was saying about drip feed once every half term, a different book to study.
Sounds like there's a common theme there, but it's nice because we're getting that kind of reinforcement and validation of that kind of approach. And we have to remember that, for all the best intent, capacity is a kind of a measure on some of these things about how effective it is to do these things. Nick, from all your activities today, but by the sounds of it that you've phased over the full year, what would be some of your top tips that you'd share for anybody listening in about the things that have worked best for you or got the best engagement?
I think for staff not to be surprised, because it really is quite kind of shocking how much the children are exposed to, which I know a lot of the previous messages from some of your other guests have said. Some of those statistics about the amount of children that are exposed to adult content and inappropriate content. So let them know, that the children know, and parents as well, that you're there to listen. It's a safe space, and kind of try and offer it'll be a positive role model, essentially. Give them the kind of guidelines on how they should act, and how, if something doesn't feel right, they need to tell somebody they trust, report, block, those types of messages that have been around for years, but they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So, with lockdown happening last couple of years, I can't remember who else I mentioned, but, a lot of children were going on YouTube a lot more than they would have been if they were in school on a daily basis, and just, being able to work their way around internet safety and parental controls. So I think realizing how savvy children are. I think what Joe was saying before about actually listening to the children, giving them that voice as well, having them be part of digital leaders. I was making notes on my phone before that's something we had a few years ago, and it kind of disbanded we never really got back into it after the pandemic. But I definitely need to make sure that happens, because that's so powerful. Having the children say it, I think, is better sometimes than coming from the teachers and from the parents.
Absolutely.
No, great stuff, Nick. Thank you very much indeed. One thing that I'm going to go off piece with the questions a little bit, but one thing that you've done really well recently, or maybe the sort of past 18 months, really, you've done really well sort of connecting with other educators around primary computing and other topics and things. Are there any people sort of you'd recommend to maybe connect with around this? Some of the people in your PLN, perhaps, who have been sharing some good things beyond this that you recommend some of our viewers sort of could connect to and follow and chat to? I know Joe's somebody, for example, who's been sort of, in our little DM group chatting and those sort of things. Any sort of great people must follows, do you think, that would be useful for our viewers?
I definitely need to give a shout out to Mark Withersey, who is another person who we were on the ADE course with, because he kind of set this off in motion for me to go into the kind of picture book approach. He was running a Zoom training session. It was about 6 months ago or maybe more, and he introduced me to Monkey Cow. Stuart Spenlow, and the author, who was a teacher himself, said that he realised that there wasn't really anything out there that tick the boxes for what he wanted to, the message he wanted to deliver. So that's why he wrote the book himself. And then that was, in fact, Penguin Pig was the first book, Monkey Cow was the follow-up. So we've bought both of them, and they're ones that we look at each half term. The things Mark's doing, not just with internet safety, but also with just the EIFS curriculum and computing and embedding that as a whole, is just incredible. So massive shout out to him, especially now that the EIFS curriculum's changed and computing isn't really featured exclusively on there. And that was a bit of a battle that I've had with some members of staff who are a little bit reluctant to use technology that actually should be embedded in everything. So yeah, big shout out to him. You put me on the spot there, Mark. I'm trying to think of other people that have been great in terms of internet safety. I mean, there's so many great people out there with computing. Which within our kind of the PLN we had, there's Mr. MRM is his Twitter handle. I can't think what his name's off my head.
Mr. MICT.
That's it, Mr. MICT, who messaged asking about unplugged computing activities over the weekend. So if anybody's interested in that, the thread's going through there. Again, imposter syndrome hitting with me, because I was one of the first people to comment, and it looks like, oh my goodness, these things that are coming up are just fantastic. But Twitter as a whole is just, such an incredible platform for educators to get on and, bounce ideas of each other. And as you know from yourself, when I was kind of going down organising our computing curriculum and our internet safety policies and everything else, that PLN that we put together really kind of paid dividends for it and made a massive difference.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thanks for sharing those two. I mean, Mark is someone I've known for a long time as well. What I can make sure happens is putting both Mark and Mr. MICT's links and references into the show notes afterwards. So if they're not ticking across the bottom, which I know they won't be, we can make sure that those are being shared there as well. If people want to follow you yourself, Nick, because you're a great person to follow yourself, so where can people find more about you and connect with you?
Thank you very much. ICT with Mr. D. It's along the bottom at the moment, I think, on the screen. I started my blog again because when I moved schools, I lost everything on my blog, which I was a bit devastated about. So I started that up again. I'm getting there with it. So having a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old to compete with at home is a little bit of a challenge. But on there is 3 pages worth of the books that we used throughout each half term and some ideas around them, which again, massive thank you to Mark for setting me up on that. And then there are books that are on the Vodafone website. So there's 3 books. So Trolls Thinks what we're doing at the moment is one of them. You can access the book as an ebook completely free. And there's Vodafone activities around that too. We bought the physical copies as well, but you can access them. Anybody can get onto them. You send them home to parents. Children access them on their devices. And the messages there, I do feel, are great from reception all the way to year 6, because the children, then there's hashtag Goldilocks, which the year 6 children kind of identified with and found quite humorous, the way that they've told the original Goldilocks story, but with Goldilocks posting everything on Instagram and hashtag sleep, and then the bears come and they end up showing the social media posts to the police afterwards. So they kind of got the humor and the irony behind it, as it were.
Nick, thank you so much for sharing that, and it's great to have you on the show. And I appreciate you doing the last shift of the show for us. So thank you so much.
No pressure after everyone else.
Great to have you on, and hopefully we'll see you again.
See you now.
Yeah, take care, Nick. Love to see you, mate. Thanks for coming on. Cheers.
Right.
And that, as they say, is an online safety, digital citizenship wrap for the evening.
Indeed.
And what a collection of resources and different ideas we've shared there. I think the number one word that I want to push out for all of our guests, for both the research, the support, the tools, and the practice in the classroom, is just the big hashtag respect. Because I don't think we can underestimate the importance of this topic that we're discussing this evening.
No, absolutely. It underpins everything, really, doesn't it? And so, massive thank you to all of our guests this evening. From I'll list them. I think from Ken Corris, Southwest Group for Learning, Will Few from the Internet Watch Foundation, Michelle Grant, Joe Hodge, Nick Dempster, we heard a second ago, from Tracy Good from the iVengers, Caroline from NASA Hub, Sam from CPOMS, someone sat not too far from me here as well, Mr. Kingley. Thank you, huge thank you to Katie behind the scenes making all of the magic work right throughout the show and all of our shows. Thank you to Katie. Thank you to all of you for joining us as well. And if you want to get involved again, just a quick reminder, if you are someone who's thinking, I've got a product and I'd like to come on the show and showcase some of these things, please do get in touch at netsupportsoftware.com/showcase. But as you might have seen flash up on the screen a few moments ago, we've got a big event taking place next month, Mr. Kingsley.
Well, I think we're all very excited that finally BET is going to arrive again after a little bit of a postponement. We've got lots of friends and activities that are joining us on the NetSport stand at BET. But one thing we're also going to be doing is a Check It Out show on the road.
Absolutely.
So really looking forward to that. It's an opportunity for Mark and I to get involved and have conversations with lots of the great solutions and service providers that we really respect in the space, and a chance to discover a few new ones that we don't know about. So again, reach out for that web link that we shared before if you're interested in joining, and absolutely do come and find us at BET, and we'd always love to have a conversation, get the microphones and the recording out and see if we can capture some highlights from you too. But most importantly of all, thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for tuning in. Keep safe, and we'll see you in a month's time.
Thanks.